गल रब के नाम तो टोरने सज्जनों मित्रों बेलियो तो संगियो मेरा सबना प्रेम भरिया सत श्री अकाल अस्सलाम वालेकुम और नमस्कार। मैं चौधरी साग तुसी मेरा यूट्यूब चैनल देख रहे हो साझा पंजाब। इनू तुसी एदा सबसक्राइब भी करना है और टली का बटन भी दबाना है। अज एक लॉन्चिंग हुई है जी बीबी शहीद B.Bhutto साहबा के बारे सी। उन्हों की एक ऑक्सफोर्ड की उन्होंने दोस्त सी विक्टोरिया और उन्होंने उत्ते किताब लिखी है जी जर्नलिस्ट भी है और आथर भी है। बहुत सारी किताबां सी उन्हें बीबी ते किताब लिखी है। वो लाड़काना जिथे जिथे बीबी दा है सी सारा उत्थे उन्होंने उत्थे उन्हें जाके बीबी नाल इंटरव्यू भी किए, बीबी नाल गलबात भी की ते उन्हें एक किताब लिखी है। उहदा नाम है द फ्रैगनेंस ऑफ द टीयर, यानी उहदा तर्जमा किया है मेरे कुलीग बहुत पुराने कुलीग ने फखर अब्बास साहब रेडियो प्रोड्यूसर भी सन और साडे दी मुस्लिम अखबार दे विच मेरे कुलीग भी रहे ने। फखर अब्बास साहब ने एडा सोहने और सवन्ने तरीके नाल और बड़े नवेकले तरीके नाल इसका तर्जमा उर्दू च किया है। उसका नाम रखा आंसुओं की खुशबू, द फ्रैगनेंस ऑफ टीयर्स। उसका तर्जमा उन्होंने किया है आंसुओं की खुशबू। और इन्ना अच्छे तरीके नाल उन्होंने तर्जमा किया है वो सारे जिन्ने बुलियार आए सन, स्पीकर आए सन, उन्होंने सारे ने बड़ा सलाया। जिहदे बहुत ज़्यादा साढ़े एक साबका कुलीग नहीं मिर्ज़ा साहब सन, वो भी साढ़े न्यूज़ एडिटर रहे ने। उन्होंने भी बड़े अच्छे तरीके नाल उन्होंने जिहड़ा है ना उन्होंने तारीफ की थी, उन्होंने सलाया उन्होंने। इस तरह उत्थे मुर्तज़ा सलंगी जिहड़े अजकल पहले DG रेडियो रहे ने, अजकल वो सदर पाकिस्तान मोहतरम जनाब असफ अली जरदारी साहब के वो सैकटरी भी ने, प्रेस सैकटरी ने। उन्होंने भी अच्छे तरीके से सलाया, मगर सब तो अच्छा जड़ा सलाया वो जनाब आसफ खान साहब भुट्टो फाउंडेशन के जोड़े चेयरमैन ने उन्होंने, और नईम मिर्ज़ा साहब और जैबिस्ट के जोड़े प्रिंसीपल ने कैंपस के परवेज़ खुसरो साहब, उन्होंने बड़े कमाल तरीके ना परवेज़ खुसरो साहब ने उनकी सराहना की थी। लिहाजा ये जिन्हें लोग भी बोले बड़ा अच्छे तरीके ना। आखिर में मैडम विक्टोरिया ने भी बोलियां कुछ, कोई फिक्रे जोड़े सन उन्हें उर्दू के भी बोले और बड़े अच्छे तरीके नाल किताब उन्हें सलाया। जी ट्रांसलेशन की है फखर अब्बास साहब ने, वह तो जवाब नहीं, क्योंकि कोई भी लैंगुएज जी है ना, अंग्रेज़ी लै लो, वह अपनिया रवायात, अपने अखान, अपने तरीकाकार, अपने बोलन का एक जिमें पंजाबी के बाद चीज़ों का वो सबस्टिट्यूट को नहीं होंदा। जिमें मसलन बाद लफ्ज़ ऐसे ने मसलन के बदली जांदियां ने चीज़ां, बहुत सारिया चीज़ां। मसलन मेरा एक दोस्त आया सी बाहरों, मेरे एक उस्ताद भी ने सरमद सबाई साहब इतने रेडियो अपना TV के ड्रामा राइटर भी सन, TV के स्क्रिप्ट राइटर सन। उन्होंने मेरे को एक बंदा घल्लिया जिहड़ा स्वीडन का रहने वाला सी। उन्हें मैनू पूछा वो पंजाबी के उत्ते कोई PhD कर रहा सी और इत्थों के कल्चर के उत्ते कर रहा सी। उन्हें मेरे को पूछा कि ये जिहड़ा शरीका हुंदा है, शरीके का की मतलब हुंदा है। और यकीन करो उन्होंने समझाने लग्या मैनू कई दिन लग गए कि शरीका की हुंदा है। रिवैलरी होंदी है ना, वो लड़ाई झगड़ा आउंदा इन्हां चीज़ां चाहिए, मगर वो शरीके का जिहड़ा सबस्टिट्यूट है या नेमल बदल है वो बड़ा मुश्किल सी। लिहाजा ये तुसीं वेखोगे इहदे विच वो सारे जिन्हां ने लांचन के उत्ते किताब के उत्ते जिन्ना बोले। लिहाजा एक बारी फिर मैं तुहानूं तुहाडे अगे अर्ज करांगा कि मेरा ये ਚੈਨਲ ਸਾਂਝਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਇੱਕੋ ਹੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦਾ ਚੈਨਲ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਚਲਾਉਣਾ ਔਰ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਰਨ ਕਰਨਾ ਔਰ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਲਾਉਣਾ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਹਦੇ ਟੱਲੀ ਦਾ ਬਟਨ ਵੀ ਦਬਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਹਦਾ ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਵੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ। ਰੱਬ ਰੱਖਾ।
Convince the Vietnamese leaders that don't go for negotiation with America. I am coming over as the next president, and I will give you more good terms and more concessions. And this was also mentioned in the book. And it said that he was a very bad president in American history, as well as Trump. So you rightly said this. And then you mentioned Zebis. Muhtarma was very keen to promote higher education in Pakistan, and she said to you that we should send students from Zebis. We had branches in Dubai, in Karachi, Larkana, and Lahore, to come here for a few weeks, a few months, and give a teaching lessons. And you're sitting in the same university which you mentioned. That is Muhtarma's dream. And it's now one of the leading universities of social sciences in Pakistan. And it is performing excellent. Our head is here, and they have very good results. And when you mentioned the lady who came here and he taught here for this foundation, as you are here for the first time, this was constituted by Muhtarma Benazir Shaheed when she was leading a political asylum life in Dubai. And its main principle and program was to promote democratic rights, to promote human rights, to promote tolerance, liberalism, minority rights, youth rights, to work on environment. And Victoria, recently we have started book launching ceremonies also here. The writers were progressive, liberal, modern, forward-looking. We give them the stage for book launching. So we have book launching sessions also. This today, in 20 days, this is our 4th session. And we don't have any competitor in Islamabad. This is all due to our cooperation of the head of the campus. We continue to hold seminars, discussions, panel discussions. Recently we had on Iran war, then different topics. So this is a very important and strong forum. No other political parties have such forums. Even Islamabad is a center of international NGOs, but no such international NGOs is our competitor. We have a distant competitor in Black Hole, but their hall is very small, their outreach is small. So we are completely dominating here in Islamabad, and this was a vision of Muhtarma, and we are continuing with that. Madam, you have written a wonderful book, the most interesting book on our leader. Only you could have written that, because most of the books, the writers, they don't know her much. They knew her when she became a leader, then when she became a prime minister, for the first time, for the second time. You are the only lady who lived with her, spent time with her, right from the college days in Oxford University. So nobody else could write such a detailed, objective and positive book on Muhtarma. Lately we launched a book of Faridullah Babar. He also spent a lot of time with B.B. as a spokesperson a few 20-25 days back. His book was also good. But your book is very special because you have mentioned those characteristics of Muhtarma, which I can also know because I joined her in late 70s when I was very young, and when she came here from England, 1986, and I also saw her period when in between she was active there. You also mentioned that you went with her to frontier. At that time, Mukarma was not wearing any dupatta, and that was also her first role. Later on, he became more religious and started putting dupatta on her head. But you mentioned that, and you rightly mentioned, because I was also present when Shanwa's body was brought at Larkana. That was a very painful moment, very sorrowful. And she cried a lot, and people were so emotional, sentimental. They lifted her, and you wrote, and that's the right moment. She decided that I will come back to Pakistan and I will launch a movement. She was encouraged, she was inspired by the warm welcome, the warm reception she got when she was coming with the body of Shahnawaz. Your translation is excellent. The Fakhr is here, we should call Fakhr on the stage. And it's just like, somebody translating great Russian novels, French novels. His translation was perfect, his vocabulary was perfect, and he has sold many books today even. So I appreciate her for doing a tremendous job. I'll just mention a few points and then I'll invite other speakers. You said that is also correct, that at time when you were in university, that was a time of romance and people were romanticized.
The Nixon's impeachment was there. Perhaps that was one of the first speeches which were delivered in Oxford by Madam B.Bhutto at that point of time. She came from Harvard and she landed in Oxford to continue her studies because Bhutto Sahib really wanted that she should continue with that legacy and that whole tradition. Madam, it's really a very bright day today because many of the people in Pakistan cannot read or write English. So this translation is a very, very timely, I think, though it came after a very long time, but I think in the right direction. And that will not only educate our masses, but that will also highlight the struggle and the contribution of the great leader of peace, Madam B.Bhutto Sahib. And if you see the vision, Asif Sahib has just mentioned about an institution of higher education, which is Abbas. If you see both the tenures of our premiership, you can vouch out for that the advancement in the social sector, in the health sector, in the education sector was tremendous. And she gave actually that voice to more than 50% of Pakistan's population by giving them that kind of representation at the highest level, that is National Assembly and in the provincial assemblies, and then to different forums. And today, we are all reaping the benefit of our struggle. I worked twice in her both. And I happened to be the deputy commissioner in Larkana also, when she was deposed during after her first tenure. She was a very frequent visitor to Larkana. And then we had long discussions on all kind of subjects. But her main concern was two concerns. How can we uplift the people of Pakistan and how can we bring justice to their doorsteps. These were the two major concerns. And she always spoke about that. I had the privilege to serve in her government again in 1995-96, and when she came to visit one of my districts in Karachi, I'll quote, she said, "BC Saab, what do you want for the uplift of this area?" I said, "Prime Minister, well, we have brought peace to this city of Karachi. I'm talking of 1995. And now people want that, there should be some projects in the social sector as well as development sector." He said, "Give me a price tag." I said, "I think at that point of time, 1 billion would be enough." She said, "I can double it down to 2." Look at the generosity and look at the sensitiveness towards the people. How affectionate was she about her people. And I think you have rightly mentioned many qualities in your work. And this translation of Abbas will go, inshallah, in the right way, in the right direction. Thank you very much for gracing us. Thank you very much for coming to us.
Foundation here. It was established at the time when HRCP was also established in late 80s, and it played a very positive role in women emancipation. They organized Aurat marches, and that is still considered to be going on. Although during separation they were not allowed, they were put in prison, but that day is still being celebrated throughout Pakistan. Naeem Mirza Sahab.
मैं आपके साथ उर्दू में मुखातब हूँगा क्योंकि आज जिस किताब की रुमाई है वो आंसुओं की पर बात करते हुए बेहद खुशी हो रही है। शहीद बेनज़ीर भुट्टो जिनका तज़किरा इंसानी अज़मत, दानिश, जुर्रत और कुर्बानियों की तारीख में चली हरूफ में लिखा जाएगा। Although she is not present with us physically today, जो आज हमारे दरमियान फिजिकली मौजूद नहीं हैं, लेकिन उनकी शख्सियत, उनकी करिश्माती शख्सियत का सहर, अवाम से उनकी लाजवाल मोहब्बत की हरारत और उनकी याद में बहाए गए आंसुओं की खुशबू से सिर्फ ये कमरा नहीं बल्कि पूरा मुल्क और पूरा जहां महक रहा है। यूं शहीद बेनज़ीर भुट्टो न सिर्फ हमारे दरमियान मौजूद हैं बल्कि पूरे जहो जलाल से जंग, आमरीत और तशद्दुद के खिलाफ नबर्द आज़मा भी है। क़यादत की बहादुरी और क़यादत की कुर्बानी अज़ली होती है। आंसुओं की खुशबू ताअब्बद और ये बीबी शहीद की कुर्बानी जो आंसुओं की खुशबू की शक्ल में हमारे पास है, हमारे सामने है, ये ताअब्बद हमारे दरमियान मौजूद रहेगी। इनके साथ ही हमारे दरमियान आज मौजूद हैं विक्टोरिया शोफील्ड। मैं आमतौर पर बड़ी तकरीर नहीं करता, मेरा अंदाज और है, लेकिन मैंने सोचा कि ये ख्यालात इतने मुंतशिर हैं। द बुक वाज so interesting and so full of rigor and memories and passion.
Met President Asif Ali Zardari for the condolences President Asif Ali Zardari said that you should meet my children quite oftenly because they would feel the fragrance of their mother with your presence. So, I'm talking about the fragrance. The book's title is The Fragrance of Tears. That comes from the coffee of since Pakistan's great Sufi poet Shah Abdul Latif Bhitai. And Muhtarma B.Bhutto was fond of mystic poet Shah Abdul Latif Bhitai and mysticism as well, like Bhutto Sahib. They were the followers of mystic tradition. That's how they got into the hearts of millions of people. Only with mystic politics you can do that, not with the plain politics. That was not the cup of Bhutto's. Anyway, the line of Shah Abdul Latif Bhitai is that these clouds of smoke emitting from the rice fields, from the dung of the kitchen of the haris, they are the cries of Indus. Once I die, let your tears reach me. The fragrance of your tears reach me. So this is that fragrance of tears. The title of the book, Muhtarma Victoria Schofield Seva, has taken from that coffee. This project of translation started in 2007 when Victoria Schofield Seva was participating in B.Bhutto Literary Festival at Alhambra, Lahore, that was organized by Culture Wing of Pakistan People's Party. And I don't know where is now Culture Wing, only we see Asif Khan sir. That Culture Wing must be right.
That was 2017.
2017?
Yeah.
And Bilawal Bhutto, Zardari chairman Pakistan People's Party, was presiding on that session. And Victoria Schofield read out some pages of first chapter of her memoir she was working on. And it was so moving, so touching, that tears welled up in my eyes. And once her speech was over and the function was over tea break, I requested her that once the book is published in English, I would translate it in Urdu. So that was a commitment. That was a labor of love. That was a commitment to the legacy of Muhtarma B.Bhutto Shaheed. And once the book was published, we were constantly in touch through emails. And I read this book almost 10 times in English and 10 times in Urdu. So for 20 times, I welcome Dr. Sulangi sir, spokesperson of the President. So each time when I was reading this book, while translating it, it was like visiting the old wounds, the old tragedies that was very much in my soul. And it was not an easy task for Victoria Schofield to pen down this book. It was very painful to write a memoir of 32 years friendship. We started from Oxford and till Muhtarma's assassination. The next morning, Hafiz Pirzada and Mumtaz Bhutto, they said outside Liaquat Bagh, where Muhtarma was assassinated, there would be a protest rally. When Dr. Zafar Rais's family arrived there, Hafiz Pirzada and Mumtaz Bhutto, even the activists, which were in thousands, fled the scene and went to the PC hotel, and they had lunch with them. And all activists were arrested, including the Dr. Zafar Niazi's family, the daughters. Only Mona Niazi was left because she was below 80. Dr. Zafar Niazi, his wife, his daughters, they were sent to the attic jail. So the Mona Niazi's family is also close to the Bhutto family because Dr. Zafar Niazi was the dentist of Bhutto Shah, and they have also suffered because of it. And Victoria Schofield has also suffered a lot. Zawla banned her entry in Pakistan. And once she was, she landed at Karachi, and she wanted to visit and stay with B.Bhutto, who was under house arrest at 7 in Karachi. At Karachi airport, she was not given the entry. And they said, the register mentioned that in 78, the orders were that she would not be allowed in Pakistan. And that was quite a few years after the execution of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. And the flight which brought her to Pakistan, that was called back from the middle of air. That you have brought one persona non grata, take her back. And the honey, the black honey which B.Bhutto liked, she had brought 2 bottles. And they snatched her bag, and mercilessly they searched it on the tarmac of airport. Those 2 bottles of honey fell from her bag, and the honey flew on the tarmac. The way, the ones they grabbed B.Bhutto Shaheed at Multan airport, and there were scratches on her body and her blood on the tarmac. So this is the story of blood, the story of tears, the story of laughter.
Also, to give my own personal history, because I have written it in the book, that among the 2 girls who did come to work here, one of them was my daughter, and she spent 6 weeks fulfilling the ambition which Benazir Sahib had, that an English girl from Oxford University would come and help with the language and just improve the standard. And unfortunately, it is true that it was in the early 2000s and the security situation wasn't good. And while I was understanding of the security situation and my daughter happily went, it was not so easy to convince other girls' parents that they would be safe. And so that's why it stopped. There's actually no reason why we shouldn't try and resume the tradition. I want to also start by saying that everything I am in Pakistan is thanks to Benazir. The warmth, the generosity, the kindness, the friendship that I receive is because of her. When I first came to Pakistan, it was in 1978, and we've only got to let another year elapse, and it will be 50 years since I first stepped foot in Pakistan. It is true that I'm welcomed always with often the remarks, "Is this your first visit to Pakistan?" And I have to disabuse them of the idea and say, no, I've been coming almost for longer than you've been born. I did arrive in a short skirt because I thought I was going to a hot country. I was really very, very ignorant. I also arrived, as you will all know, during martial law, of which I was equally ignorant. I'd come from the United Kingdom, a very benign country. I arrived in an attempt to give some moral support for Benazir, because her father had already been condemned to death, and without all the accoutrements of social media that we have today, she was very scared that the judicial process would take place without very much reporting. And it was certainly in the time when my abilities were restricted to a notebook and an Instamatic camera. There was no social media, and for the younger generation here, you simply can't imagine it. No ease with which to send an article. We used to try and send them at the telex machine. You ask a young person today what a telex machine is. In fact, I told Asifa just recently, and she said, I've no idea, Auntie Victoria, what a telex machine is. this is how we had to communicate. So it was all very rudimentary. And as Fakhar Sahib has said, we did work on those old-fashioned typewriters that you had to push the keys down. In this context, I do want to say that I could not have survived without the Niazi family, because when Benazir was put under house arrest, I was left on my own, and I couldn't go back to England. I had to stay because I had to continue what I was doing and helping. And the Niazi family were my home from home. And I loved the Dr. Niazi and Mrs. Niazi like my parents, and they looked after me like one of their own children. My deep friendship with them has remained. And thank you, Mona. Thank you for always being there and being like my sister, and your sisters as well. Likewise, Amina, you have been fantastic for me. And particularly, I should like to pay tribute to Amina, because when I decided that finally I would write my memoir, as a writer, you're very foolish if you write a book in isolation. It's always helpful to have somebody who will be prepared to read the manuscript, to comment, to criticize, to improve, to correct. And Amina, you did that for me. We had to do it over email during lockdown. And you set aside the time, because the worst thing in the world a writer will find is if you send something off and then the person sends it back and says, it's fine. You don't want that. You want critical comments to improve it. And the book, both in English and in Urdu, is because of that critical comment I received from Amina. And also, not present with us and no longer with us is the late David Page. I first met David Page in Rawalpindi. I had no idea how important he was in the BBC, but I met him, I think, at the Supreme Court. And then I wanted to go and work for the BBC, and I found that he was actually head of the Urdu service. He became my literary mentor and read so much of my work, including my book, Afghan Frontier. He also read Kashmiri Conflict, again, with that same critical analysis. And when the time came for me to ask him to look yet again at my work and to go through the fragrance of tears, he did so equally. And sadly, he passed away last year, in October last year, so he's not with us, but he is credited in the book. Why have I written this book, and why have I written it now?
In front of all those big names against martial law, and she started doing all those struggles. So that courage, being a friend close to her, can you describe her personality? Let me learn more about herself.
Thank you.
Should we take 2-3 questions together?
जी और कोई आप बाजी नसरीन
Victoria,
मेरा तारुफ करा दें अपना
can you hear me?
Yes.
जी
Victoria, hi again, good to see you. And I really look forward, I'm so sorry I still haven't read your book. I keep thinking I must get it. Benazir was really, I keep thinking that the greatest tragedies that Pakistan has had. The death of Benazir and the death of Mr. Bhutto. When Mr. Bhutto was alive, that's when I met you, Victoria. And when Benazir came back in October, the whole city was dancing on the floor, on the road. People were so happy. And then suddenly that happened. We were glad she survived, but so many other people died. But when she came back, there was reports that there were threats to her life in Peshawar also, where she went. And then finally, they got her, and what a tragedy. I think our country would have been so different if she had been allowed to live. Thank you for coming to Pakistan again.
Thank you.